So I want to provide an overview on the merchandise operations or merchandising company because that's chapter 5. But before I do that, I want to do a comparison between the service company that was used in chapters 1 through 4 and now chapter 5, which is now it's about merchandising company. So in chapters 1 through 4, we're focused on the service company. Okay, what does a service company entail? Well, service company is like a consulting company or a company that actually provide consulting services. And when they provide consulting services, they're going to go ahead and report the services as revenue. So we'll put on here service revenue. Then after that, you have all of the expenses. So you have salaries expenses, you have rent expense, you have interest expense if there are interest expense, you have all of these other expenses. So when it comes to expenses, you're going to subtract all of the expenses here to get your net income. So it's really that straightforward when it came to using a scenario that's from a service company from chapters 1 through 4. And that's it. And again, all of these expenses, that comes from salaries, rent, utilities, and other expenses. That's it. Service revenue, subtract out expenses, get your net income. Chapter 5 is a little different. So this is where we're going to be focused on a merchandising company. Whereas in a merchandising company, it starts off with first, when it comes to the income statement, with the revenues and expenses that are displayed in that statement, it starts off with gross sales. Okay, we'll put on here gross sales. And this would be gross sales revenue. So it first starts off there. Now there's going to be some adjustments to revenue. So you're going to take into account any sales discounts, any sales returns, and allowances, and anything else that affects the gross sales that were generated from selling merchandise. So you take these two things into consideration, then you'll get to your net sales revenue. Then after that, got to recognize the expenses that went along with generating those sales. And by recognizing the expenses, an account that's going to be used to recognize the expense is going to be called cost of goods sold. Okay, this is an expense account. So subtracting cost of goods sold from net sales revenue, you would then get your gross profit. Not your net income yet, your gross profit. Then after you figure out what the gross profit is, that's when you take these expenses here, any other expenses. So, salaries, rent, utilities. You're going to subtract it from the gross profit, and that's going to give you your net income. All right, so when I zoom out here, you can see the difference between the service company, what all is accounted for in the service company, to the merchandising company, what's all accounted for there. And I'm not even done yet. Just even the cost of goods sold here, there's some more things to it than cost of goods sold. Because cost of goods sold here, it is an expense account, but that amount that's being recorded in the expense account is being transferred from an asset account called merchandise inventory or just inventory. Because inventory, when you acquire inventory, it comes at a cost. So once it's sold, it's going to get converted into the cost of goods sold account as an expense. right? So when it comes to acquiring merchandise inventory, that's when you are the buyer, you are the purchaser. So merchandise inventory also can have some adjustments, just like the gross sales revenue here, where you have sales discounts, sales returns, and allowances. So in merchandise inventory, it could be the same thing. You can have some discounts here. We'll say purchase discounts. And that's if you made a purchase within the discount period. Then you have what is called purchase returns. So if you return that item that you initially acquired, you return it. That's going to adjust your merchandise inventory account. And then what else? I could just lumped. Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and keep it separate. Purchase allowance. Purchase allowances is also going to affect your inventory account. Now, these accounts here, as the buyer, these don't exist as a separate account. Like these sales discounts and returns accounts, sales returns allowances accounts do. Okay, these two accounts exist, like actual accounts, because these are contra revenue accounts here. Okay, contra revenue accounts are accounts that are directly connected to the main account. In this case, it's connected to this main revenue account here of sales revenue. But here, the purchase discounts, returns, and allowances, these are not actual accounts. This is simply me showing you that these, the discounts, returns, and allowances, this will affect the merchandise inventory balance in that account, which will affect the cost of goods sold account as well. So the merchandise inventory and cost of goods sold, they are tied with each other. And that's why I'm demonstrating, I'm putting the purchase discounts, returns, allowances this way for the buyer. Okay, but these are not actual accounts. These are things that discounts, returns, allowances that actually can affect, it can affect the merchandise inventory account. Okay, so now I'm done when it comes to demonstrating an overview of service company and merchandising company. But again, like you can see, there are a lot more things that are going on or that needs to be accounted for under the merchandising company compared to the service company.